Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the NBA slate on DraftKings and Yahoo for Thursday, March the 28th. We got an 8-game Thursday NBA slate. I'm going to go through each position, talk about some of the guys that I like on this 8-game slate. We will work our way through the player pool. I will give my 5 plays for DraftKings, 5 plays for Yahoo. These are 5 players that I do specifically like for each site. Before we get started, want to let you guys know that I did make my MLB video for opening day. I made it on Wednesday afternoon, so if you are watching this on Thursday, like in the morning, or like Thursday afternoon before the MLB slate starts, and you are planning to play that MLB opening day slate, then make sure you check out my video. I will link it down in the description if you do want to check it out. I would appreciate it. Going to be doing NBA and MLB till the NBA regular season's over, then we'll just focus on MLB after that. But before we do get started, guys, also would appreciate it if you would drop a like. If you do enjoy these videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are new. I would really appreciate it. But let's go ahead and look at point guard today. So at this position, we got James Harden, most expensive option, 11,100 on DK. He gets a home matchup with the Nuggets. Harden on this slate is not very appealing to me, not because I think he's a bad play or I think he's going to do bad here, but I think I would rather play Giannis for just 100 more in a really good spot against the Clippers. I think Joel Embiid looks like a really good play today in a great matchup against the Nets. He is $700 less. So that's the only reason I'm probably going to be avoiding Harden today. Plus, point guard offers a lot of good mid-tier plays. Kyle Lowry is only $6,800 against the Knicks with Kawhi Leonard out. That looks like a really good play. De'Aaron Fox at $7,600 against the Pelicans. I think is very good as well. Even Ben Simmons, $8,300 against Brooklyn. So that's the only reason I'm going to be avoiding Harden today. This mid-tier is just loaded. Fox, Simmons, 2 guys I really like. Kyle Lowry, another guy that's very hard to avoid today at $6,800 on DK. Very cheap on Yahoo as well at $28. I'm going to have a ton of Kyle Lowry today. Really the only time I ever play Lowry is when Kawhi Leonard is out. That's when he usually has his big games. The fact that his price tag is this cheap just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. He should be like $7,500, close to $8K on DraftKings when Kawhi Leonard's out. So plus it's a matchup with the Knicks, so the fact that he's $6,800 just makes him really appealing. I would be surprised if he scores less than like 40 DraftKings points here. Hard to avoid Lowry on this slate. Also, his teammate Fred VanVleet, I expect to be a really good value play. VanVleet is dirt cheap on this slate, down at $4,800. I imagine he will start with Kawhi Leonard out. VanVleet also looks really good on Yahoo at just $18. He should start with Kawhi out. Does play more minutes when Kawhi is out because obviously VanVleet moves into the starting lineup. Usually see him play about 32, 33 minutes when he starts alongside Lowry. And although starting alongside Lowry does hurt his usage and assist percentage, he can still rack up fantasy points, and especially in a matchup with the Knicks. And the fact that he's $4,800 makes him really appealing, hard to avoid. If he was like $6K or $5,500, I think it would be a different story. But the fact that VanVleet's only $4,800, factor in the matchup, factor that Kawhi is out, he looks like a really good value play. Plus on DK, you can play him at shooting guard, which makes him very appealing to me. The other value play, though, that I did want to mention is Goran Dragic at $5K. If Josh Richardson and Justice Winslow are both out today, Goran Dragic at $5K becomes a very good value play if you do want to play him. He's pretty cheap. And then another value play I want to talk about is Ian Clark. He's only $3,700 on DraftKings, and he's the minimum on Yahoo, $10 at shooting guard. I imagine since Frank Jackson is out for this game for the Pelicans that Ian Clark will draw the start. Clark did see some good run last game, especially after Jackson got hurt. He played 25 minutes against the Hawks and had 18 DraftKings points. I imagine, like I said, since Jackson's out, we get Clark starting and playing about 30 minutes. It's a good matchup with the Kings, a fast-paced game, a game that should be high-scoring. I think Clark looks like a really good play here. You could definitely see him get 30 minutes and probably close to 30 fantasy points. So at $3,700, I think he's really going to benefit from Frank Jackson being out. Jackson was playing a ton of minutes, so I expect Clark to pick up a lot of those minutes. You might see like Stanley Johnson get a few more minutes. Maybe Bertans gets a few more minutes, but Clark should be the biggest beneficiary. At $3,700, I do like him as a value play today. But let's go ahead and move on to shooting guard now. So at shooting guard, the top place here, you obviously have like Harden, who I talked about, who I don't have a ton of interest in today. You got D'Angelo Russell, who I don't mind against Philly. D'Angelo Russell's been playing incredible lately. I would say it's a relatively tough spot for him, but the Nets need to win games. Russell's playing big minutes right now. He is a guy that you can go to. But again, shooting guard, you have value here with Van Vliet. You have Clark for cheap. Not a position you really have to pay up, especially since I like Embiid today. I'm trying to pay up at center. I think Giannis paying up at small forward or power forward makes a ton of sense. Don't think you need to pay up at shooting guard today. You've got the value here with the guys I've talked about. Even someone like Derek White at 5,200 against the Cavs. Maybe Gilius Alexander at 5,500, especially if Patrick Beverly is out. Those are two guys you could look to, in my opinion. I don't think you can play Goran Dragic here, but he's another value, potentially a point guard you could look to. Shooting guard definitely has value plays today with the guys I've talked about. That's probably where I'm going. Maybe you take a flyer on a guy like Jeremy Lin with Kawhi out, or maybe Norman Powell. Norman Powell's down here at 3,600. Some of those guys could benefit with Kawhi out, but obviously not the best value plays and not the safest value plays on this slate. Let's go ahead and move on to small forward. Let's talk about this position. So you do have Giannis at the top here. Well, I did mention I like more than Harden today, and I do like. Don't like him more than Embiid, though. Embiid is my top stud, the guy that I'm really trying to pay up for. But Giannis is definitely second favorite. Just a really good spot against the Clippers. The Clippers team has struggled defensively this year. They're very bad at rebounding, and Giannis obviously is the Bucks' best rebounder. He just leads this team when it comes to rebounding over Brook Lopez. Plus, it's a very appealing game when you talk about pace. It should be a close game, should be competitive. Giannis at 11-2, I think paying up at small forward for him does make a ton of sense today. Ben Simmons as well at 8,300, I like quite a bit if you want to go to him. But if we're looking to the mid-range, if we're looking to go here, not a ton stands out to me in this 5K range. If we're talking about value plays, cheap guys we could potentially go to, maybe Danny Green, but 4,600, I don't love that price. Even with Kawhi out, I don't think you have to play Danny Green since he's up to 4,600. You could take a flyer on Norman Powell, he's 3,600. Stanley Johnson should benefit with Frank Jackson out, he's 3,600 as well. Those are two value plays you could look to, but that's probably it for small forward. This position's pretty gross today. I don't see a lot of intriguing plays that just really catch my eye besides a guy like Giannis. Maybe Buddy Hield at 7,100 against the Pelicans. Don't mind going there. But let's go ahead and move on to power forward. Let's talk about this position. So at the top here, you obviously have Giannis. But in this mid-range, got a play I like here a lot. Pascal Siakam, 7,500 on DraftKings. Like him a lot on Yahoo as well. $33 at power forward. He's one of the biggest beneficiaries when Kawhi Leonard is out. Him and Kyle Lowry are two of the biggest beneficiaries. We just see Siakam play more minutes, is just more productive when you take Kawhi Leonard off the floor. He's had some really big games this year when Kawhi's been out. I know he had like a 60-point game against the Wizards. I think Kawhi was out earlier this year when they played the Knicks, and a lot of these guys didn't do that well, but it was a crazy blowout. They won by like 30 points. Siakam only played 30 minutes in that game, 38 DraftKings points, though, was pretty productive in the time that he played. This game is being played in New York, so I think that should help keep the game close. This game is close, and we get 36, 38 minutes out of Siakam. He could easily go for 40-plus DraftKings points. So even with the price of $7,500 on DK, I still think he is very appealing today. I do like him quite a bit. I'm definitely going to be looking to target the Raptors here. Just when you take a high-usage player like Kawhi Leonard off the floor, you get a lot of beneficiaries, and Siakam is one of them, so I like him a lot at power forward. I think he's a very good play today. But now other power forwards that we could potentially look to, not really a ton stands out to me, like maybe Ibaka, but he's playing backup center right now, so it's really hard to look to him. Even with Kawhi out, he's not really going to benefit since he's not playing a ton of minutes. If we're talking about value plays here, again, not a ton of value stands out to me. Like Christian Wood was a guy that saw a ton of minutes last game, was pretty surprising. He did benefit from Anthony Davis resting or being out, quote-unquote, being out. 32 minutes against the Hawks and had 53 DraftKings points. This is a guy that does produce when he's on the floor. He's a very good point-per-minute player. If he gets like 20, 25 minutes, you could easily get 30 DraftKings points out of Christian Wood. If he gets those minutes is a concern for me. I don't know if he's going to get those minutes just because the Pelicans have so many bigs. They're going to play Davis 20 minutes. They have Julius Randle. They have Cheick Diallo. I don't see Christian Wood playing 30 minutes again. I think he probably plays like 15 to 20. Still, he could be very productive, though. And it is a matchup with the Kings that I do really like. So if you want to take a flyer on Christian Wood, I don't mind it. But, again, it's very, very risky Just don't know what the minutes are going to look like now that Davis is expected to play today. That's going to take some minutes away from Christian Wood. And then you got the guys you could take a flyer on from the Pels with no Frank Jackson. Stanley Johnson, I mentioned, could benefit as a value play. You could look to him. But let's go ahead and talk about center now, talk about this position. So I love Joel Embiid at the top here. He has a great matchup today against the Nets. He's been very good in this matchup so far this year. I like Embiid on both sides, 50 on Yahoo and 10,400 on DraftKings. So far this year, he's played Brooklyn 3 times. These teams have faced off 3 times this year. And Joel Embiid, I think he has like a 64-point game or something like that, 64, 55, and then he had like a pretty bad game, like only 40 points, but an average of 55 DraftKings points so far this year against Brooklyn through the 3 games that they have played. It's just such a good matchup for Embiid. This Brooklyn team's been getting killed by bigs all year. Embiid could easily go for 70-plus fantasy points if this game is competitive. And I think it will be with how well Brooklyn's been playing lately. I think this game stays close, so love Embiid here. I think this game has a lot of appeal if you want to stack it. Obviously, we know where to go from Philly, the guys who are going to be the top plays like Embiid, Simmons, Butler, Harris. But getting a lot of those guys into your lineup is going to be hard just because there's not enough value to where you could fit all those guys. But you could definitely play like Embiid and Simmons and maybe Russell and then play some value with Clark and Van Vliet, some cheap guys. You could probably do that, but Embiid's the main guy that I really want from this game. Just love the matchup for him. He's my favorite center to pay up for on this slate. Nikola Vucevic's price definitely stands out to me at just 8,500. His price took a big drop after his last game. I think he was like 9,300 last game, and then he dropped down to 8,900, and now he's down to 8,500, which I don't really understand. Again, it's hard for me to play him on this slate because I love Embiid so much. But the fact that Vooch is down to 8,500 on DraftKings does make him pretty appealing for me. He is going to be in some of my lineups just when you factor in that price tag. Vooch probably projects for like 45, 50 points. Getting a guy that projects for that at 8,500 at least puts him in play for me. So Vucevic would be my next favorite center to pay up for behind Embiid. You have Siakam, who you could play at center. He's in that mid-range. You could go to him. Brook Lopez has a great matchup against the Clippers, but it's hard for me to prioritize him on this slate. Especially at 6,100. That's a pretty hefty price for Brook Lopez. Even though it's a great matchup, I would probably just try and find the salary to get up to Pascal Siakam. Marc Gasol at 5,400, I don't mind against the Knicks. Not my favorite play, but with no Kawhi Leonard, I expect Gasol probably picks up some usage. So at 5,400 with that price tag dropping because Serge Ibaka is back, you could definitely look to Marc Gasol if you want to play him. But I don't really like any value at center. You could take a flyer on Christian Wood. You can play him at center, but that's probably it for me at this position. So I think that is it for the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. Hopefully it did help you. Like I said at the beginning, if you want to check out my MLB video for opening day, I did upload that Wednesday afternoon. We'll link it down in the description if you want to check that out. Make sure you drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.